In our headlines on this Friday, July 3rd, here in South Korea. President Lee Jae-myung prepares to partake in this year's NATO summit in Turkey on July 7th and 8th before heading to Mongolia for a state visit. And the president addresses an audience in the region of Yeongnam today, highlighting its strategic role in advancing South Korea's plan for growth. In Venezuela, a man was rescued from the rubble of a shopping mall more than a week after the twin tremors, raising hopes for similar stories of survival. We start today with news about President Lee Jae-myung's trips to Turkey and Mongolia next week to partake in this year's NATO summit and to engage with his Mongolian counterpart. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin covers his agenda.
President Lee Jae-myung is set to further expand South Korea's diplomatic outreach with visits to Turkey and Mongolia next week. The first stop is Ankara, where Lee will make his NATO summit debut.
This visit follows last month's G7 summit and represents another step in broadening South Korea's diplomatic horizons. It also marks the beginning of a more active push for defense cooperation with NATO allies, which together account for 55% of global defense spending.
Upon arriving in the Turkish capital on Tuesday, Lee will first hold talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte before joining a meeting between NATO and its Indo-Pacific partner countries. The highlight will be the NATO Defense Industry Forum, which has been elevated to one of the summit's official flagship events for the first time. There, President Lee will deliver a keynote speech.
Through the forum, we will directly showcase the strengths of our defense industry and its rapid production capabilities to NATO allies and partner countries, while securing concrete avenues of cooperation as we work toward becoming one of the world's top 4 defense exporters.
Several bilateral meetings with world leaders are also being arranged on the sidelines of the summit. After wrapping up his 2-day visit to Turkey, President Lee will travel to Mongolia. This makes Lee the first South Korean president to make a state visit to the country in 15 years. On Thursday, he will hold his first summit with Mongolian President Ukhnaayi Khurelsu in Ulaanbaatar. The two leaders are expected to adopt a joint statement outlining ways to deepen their strategic partnership. One of Seoul's key priorities will be expanding cooperation on efforts to promote peace on the Korean peninsula. Mongolia was the second country after the former Soviet Union to establish diplomatic ties with North Korea.
We hope this visit will provide an opportunity for the two leaders to discuss peace and stability on the Korean peninsula, ways to ease regional tensions and build trust, and practical steps toward resuming dialogue with North Korea.
During his 3-day stay, Lee is also scheduled to meet the Speaker of Mongolia's parliament and the Prime Minister. On the final day of the visit, he will attend the opening ceremony of the Nadam Festival, Mongolia's largest national celebration commemorating its independence. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, here at home on this Friday, President Lee Jae-myung was in the city of Jinju in Gyeongsang-namdo province to reaffirm his vision to transform the southeast into a hub for advanced industries. Do take a listen.
차세대 반도체와 AI 데이터 센터에 대한 대규모 투자와 함께 국내 최대 로봇 산업 혁신 벨트, 자동차 세계 1위 조선 등을 포함한 피지컬 AI 분야를 집중 육성해서 제조 현장을 지능형 산업으로 다시 빚어내게 될 것입니다.
His remarks here marks the third in a series of regional addresses following his announcement of South Korea's 3 mega projects in chips, AI data centers and robotics earlier this week. Under this ambitious initiative, 312 trillion won will be invested in the southeastern region, with 4 major companies, Hanwha, Hyundai Motor, Samsung Electronics and SK Telecom, spearheading the investment in aerospace and advanced manufacturing. And the government is prepared to prop up small and mid-sized businesses that have been affected by the weaker won. During an emergency economic meeting on this Friday, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul revealed a support package of 14.9 trillion won, roughly $9.6 billion to this end. Smaller businesses will also witness less stringent loan requirements, lower import insurance premiums, and extensions in tax payment deadlines. Minister Koo also shared intentions to fast-track the administration's 3 mega projects in chips, AI data centers, and robotics via tailored regional initiatives. Following a roller coaster ride during trade on this Friday, the benchmark KOSPI closed up over 5% at 8,088 on aggressive bargain hunting. The market's movements were driven largely by Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. Both staged dramatic comebacks today after drastic declines the day before. Samsung ended the session up over 8%, while SK Hynix surged almost 11%. Over in Venezuela, a security guard was rescued from the rubble of a shopping center more than a week after the twin tremors, raising hopes for similar miraculous stories of survival. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
A round of applause in Venezuela as rescuers transfer 43-year-old security guard Hernan Alberto Il Flores to a waiting ambulance. He was pulled alive from the collapsed basement of a shopping center in Katia Lamar early Thursday after 8 days, trapped 9 meters under the rubble following 2 devastating earthquakes. He survived the initial collapse because his small security workstation shielded him from crushing debris and created a vital air pocket. Due to severe structural instability, specialized teams from Chile, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and the U.S. had to dig 2 separate tunnels to reach him. Footage from the operation captured the moment rescuers first established verbal contact through the dense concrete.
¿Dónde estás? ¿Alcanza a llegar la luz de aquí arriba? ¿Estás bien?
Sí, estoy bien. Lo que pasa es que las piedras me tienen mal la espalda.
Workers maintained contact via telescopic cameras and provided hydration through tubing, keeping him stable during the extraction.
2 days ago, our medical team was able to insert a way through the same opening we had created to insert a camera, and through that opening, we were able to hydrate him.
For his family, the initial contact ended a week of agonizing uncertainty.
First, there were days of sadness, pain, and desperation because they couldn't find him. I didn't know if he was alive or dead, if he was injured, or if they took him to a hospital. But when I realized he was alive, it was like a ray of light in the darkness.
According to latest figures from the government, the magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 earthquakes killed at least 2,595 people and injured more than 12,400. Widely used unofficial registries list approximately 38,600 people as still missing. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, at least 27 people lost their lives in the capital city after a major Russian air assault that also triggered fresh rebuke from the United Nations. Our Lee Seung-jae covers this latest act of aggression.
Russian forces launched a massive drone and missile assault on Kyiv into the early hours of Thursday morning, killing at least 27 people and injuring 91 others in one of the largest attacks on the city since the war began. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko described the barrage as the most massive attack ever carried out against the capital in terms of the number of weapons used. Although previous Russian strikes have resulted in higher death tolls, Ukrainian officials said the latest assault stood out for both its scale and the wide area affected. Several neighborhoods were evacuated as emergency crews rushed to respond to fires and damaged buildings across the city. The attack came just hours after Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky warned that Russia appeared to be preparing a new offensive against the capital. Moscow defended the operation, saying Russian forces targeted military production facilities in retaliation for what it described as Ukrainian attacks on Russian civilian infrastructure. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia would continue increasing pressure on what he called the Kyiv regime in order to achieve its military objectives. Ukraine rejected those claims, accusing Russia of deliberately targeting civilian areas and arguing there could be no comparison between the actions of an invading force and a country defending itself. The attack also drew condemnation from the United Nations. UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric said Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned these strikes and reiterated that attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure violate international humanitarian law.
Turning to Ukraine, the Secretary General strongly condemns the overnight missile and drone attacks by the armed forces of the Russian Federation on the capital city, Kyiv, and other Ukrainian cities. Any attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, wherever they occur, are a clear violation of international humanitarian law and must stop immediately.
The spokesperson added that the UN chief called for an urgent de-escalation of the conflict and appealed for a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire between the two sides. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The Trump administration has reportedly been seeking to trade the release of frozen Iranian assets for Tehran's toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Our Cha Yoon-kyung explains.
Although the United States has offered to release Iranian funds frozen overseas as a possible incentive, Tehran is showing no sign of backing down from its claim over the Strait of Hormuz. Talks are moving at a snail's pace, with Iran pushing to charge vessels that pass through the strait for maritime services. Tehran estimates the fees could generate up to $40 billion a year, suggesting that Washington's offer is not enough to change its position. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi doubled down on Tehran's position after returning from indirect talks in Doha, mediated by Qatar and Pakistan on Wednesday local time. He said the Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's command, not Washington's. Later in the day, Iran's military warned that any vessel taking an unapproved route through the strait would face an immediate and powerful response. Iran is also taking a hardline stance against what it calls outside interference in security issues surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has openly criticized the U.S. military presence in the Gulf, saying American bases in regional countries are creating confusion and instability. Iran has also yet to respond to Oman's alternative proposal, which calls for voluntary contributions for maritime services instead of mandatory transit fees. Meanwhile, senior U.S. officials were reportedly concerned that Israel intended to assassinate Iran's top negotiators, even as the Trump administration pursued a high-stakes April deal aimed at ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. It has also been reported that Washington warned Iran about Israel's alleged assassination aims, amid concerns that any such move could derail progress in the peace talks. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
Also, according to the latest media reports in the U.S., at least 9 states will decide the fate of the upper house of the Congress during the midterm elections in November. Our Ian Jin covers this outlook.
The balance of power in the Senate is on the line in the upcoming midterm elections in the United States. Out of the 100 seats where Republicans currently hold a 53 to 47 majority, 35 seats are up for election. 22 of these 35 seats are currently held by the Republican Party, 13 by the Democratic Party. This means if the Democrats can defend all 13 seats and gain 4 more, the balance in the Senate will shift. On Thursday, CNN identified 9 battleground states: North Carolina, Maine, Michigan, Ohio, Alaska, Iowa, Georgia, New Hampshire, and Texas, based on an analysis of public opinion polls, fundraising performance, and the political environment in each state. Wall Street Journal's Outlook added Minnesota and Nebraska, citing 11 races to watch. While the 9 states have vastly different local politics, experts say 2 major common denominators are driving the volatility across the entire map. The open seat factor. Incumbents are retiring in 4 of the tightest races: North Carolina, Michigan, Iowa, and New Hampshire. This also comes against the backdrop of public opinion, where President Donald Trump's approval rating has fallen into the 30% range, severely dragging down down-ballot Republicans even in reliably red states like Ohio and North Carolina, where Trump's disapproval ratings have climbed over 50%. Unlike the House, where all 435 seats are up for election every 2 years, the Senate, with 6-year terms, changes only about 1/3 of its members every 2 years. 이은진, 아리랑 뉴스.
Hacking groups linked to North Korea were behind 2/3 of the global virtual asset losses during the first half of this year. According to the Voice of America, they stole a combined $643 million worth of virtual assets, accounting for over 66% of the total losses. What's more, this sum reportedly does not include the regime's illicit revenues from phishing attacks, cryptocurrency scams, or its disguised overseas IT employment. In other news, the ROK Navy's second vessel of the 3,600-ton Changyeongsil class submarine has been named ROKS Seo Hui. Now, Seo Hui was a Koryo-era diplomat renowned for his foreign policy initiatives aimed at preventing war and protecting strategic interests. Accordingly, the ROK Navy adds the naming reflects Seo Hui's spirit of resilience in the face of challenges and well supports its defense strategy. The submarine will be launched in the second half of 2026 and delivered to the Navy in the year 2028. Cardinal You Heung-sik says Pope Leo XIV is committed to promoting peace on the Korean peninsula. Our Shin So-eun covers his remarks as well as prospects of a visit to Pyongyang by the Pope.
Cardinal You Heung-sik held a press conference on Friday outlining Pope Leo XIV's strong interest in peace on the Korean peninsula and explaining the Vatican's approach to inter-Korean issues. Cardinal Yu first discussed the possibility of a papal visit to Pyongyang, saying it could help pave the way for peace on the Korean peninsula.
When Pope Leo XIV was elected last year, I had a strong feeling that he would play a role in bringing peace to the Korean peninsula. The Pope also told me he hoped so too, and that he was ready to do whatever he could for peace.
Asked about possible steps to build stronger ties between the Vatican and North Korea, Cardinal Yu said the key would be Pyongyang's response. He added that broader regional diplomacy, including U.S.-North Korea relations, would also shape what happens next.
I hope even a small door will open soon. If it does, we must do everything we can to widen that opening.
Calling reconciliation between the two Koreas his dream, the Cardinal himself expressed a genuine commitment to play a direct role if circumstances allow. Yu said allowing one or two Catholic priests to serve permanently at Pyongyang's Changchun Cathedral would not only provide pastoral care for local Catholics and Vatican-affiliated diplomats, but also help foster the trust needed for future engagement with the Holy See. Asked about President Lee's recent request for an additional Korean cardinal, Cardinal Yu said the timing could not have been better.
I believe President Lee made the request at exactly the right moment. As Korea prepares for a major event next year, another Korean cardinal would be of great help to Church.
He added that Pope Leo has not yet appointed any new cardinals since the start of his papacy, but an announcement is expected soon.
I hope visa procedures can be eased for World Youth Day participants. Young people should not be judged only by their financial means. If they come with faith, hope, and a willingness to contribute, we should welcome them and allow them to experience Korea.
Looking ahead to World Youth Day in Seoul next year, Cardinal Yu said he hopes young pilgrims will experience Korea's warmth and hospitality and return home with a renewed sense of spiritual purpose. Shin So-eun, Arirang News.
And while the 2026 FIFA World Cup is underway over in North America, here in South Korea, robots are on the football field competing for a cup of their own. Our Lee Ju-yeon was there.
While soccer fans around the world are focused on the FIFA World Cup this summer, a different kind of match has kicked off in Korea.
On this soccer pitch in Incheon, there are no human players, just robots passing and chasing the balls.
Robocup, the world's largest robotics and AI competition, held in Korea for the first time. The event taking place in Incheon from July 2nd to 6th brings together participants from 45 nations, making it the largest Robocup in history. Many young visitors headed to the event curious about the human-like robots and ready to cheer on the Korean teams.
Since robots and AI will be the new trend for our children's generation, I wanted them to experience it firsthand.
The competition consists of 5 leagues: soccer, home service, industrial automation, rescue, and junior league. Among those, the soccer league is drawing the most attention. Inha University's Inha United is competing in middle-sized soccer league. It faced Wuhan University, a strong opponent in their first match, but held its ground.
Since our first game is done, we'll improve what we lacked and try to finish the rest of the tournament smoothly.
Meanwhile, Incheon National University was the only Korean team in the Smart Manufacturing League under the Industrial Division. Robots were required to assemble a product piece by piece within a time limit, and Team INU were recognized for their precise control.
I hope the skills and know-how we developed for this competition will support future robotics research and industry.
The ultimate goal of Robocup is to develop a fully autonomous humanoid robot team that can defeat the FIFA World Cup champions by 2050.
The goal may be ambitious, but Robocup 2026 shows that it's no longer just science fiction. Lee Ju-yeon, Arirang News.
And the South Korea toy market has a new crowd of customers, young adults in their 20s and 30s, interested in a range of soft and compressible as well as small and clickable toys. Our Cho Young-un was out in the streets to bring us this report.
This is Changsindong Toy Street, home to Korea's largest toy market with more than 100 stores. Here's a closer look to what's drawing so many young adults here.
It's a weekday morning, yet crowds of people are lining up outside toy stores in Seoul. But these aren't parents shopping for their children. They're young adults searching for mallangi, soft, squishy, sensory toys that have become the latest trend. From squishy toys and wax-coated stress balls to clickable keycap keyrings, sensory toys are rapidly gaining popularity among people in their 20s and 30s.
This soap-shaped one is the most popular. When you squeeze it, it makes a satisfying sound, and there are tiny bead-like pieces inside. It's a mix of slime and clay, so it has a really nice texture. Compared to the basic ones, it feels better, makes better popping sounds, and helps relieve a lot more stress.
I kept seeing them all over Instagram, so I wanted to try one myself. My older sister buys them, and so do all my friends. After making one together with them, I thought, I should get one too.
These tactile items are now being embraced as a fun way to relieve stress and satisfy the growing demand for daily comfort. Stationery store owners say the trend has breathed new life into the neighborhood, bringing a steady stream of visitors to the market.
There was a time when the market had almost no customers, as schools now purchase most of the stationery through suppliers. But as the market for these toys grew, more customers came, and the street has become lively again.
Experts say the craze reflects the growing popularity of sensory consumption, a lifestyle centered on small purchases that provide emotional comfort.
Handling toys like these can help slow down the rapid pace of psychological stimulation people experience in everyday life. That process can relieve stress and provide a sense of emotional stability and healing, which is why so many young people are drawn to them.
Easy to carry and affordable, these toys not only deliver immediate satisfaction, but also shared experience among young adults. Cho Young-un, Arirang News.
Showers will continue to pop up across inland regions today, with some bringing heavy bursts of rain and thunder. Rainfall amounts will range from 5 to 40 millimeters, and some areas could see 20 millimeters of rainfall per hour. So don't forget your umbrella on your way home today. Tomorrow, monsoon rain will expand north into south of Chungcheongdo provinces. And between tonight and tomorrow morning, Jeju Island and southern Jeollanam-do province could see heavy downpours. Mountainous areas of Jeju Island could receive more than 150 millimeters of rain. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 23 degrees Celsius, Daejeon at 21 degrees, Gwangju at 22 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 31 degrees, Daegu 30 degrees, Jeju 28 degrees. By Sunday and Monday, the monsoon rain will spread across the country. And after that, the seasonal rain front will continue to move back and forth, bringing periods of rain to many parts of the country. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.